People sometimes ask why the priest wears a rose-colored vestment or pink on this particular Sunday, and the answer is so that we can match that candle. In our first reading, we see the prophet Isaiah foretelling of a very joyful church, of a very joyful people, miracles being worked, people leaping for joy, people regaining their sight, people being able to hear afresh, anew. And then, of course, in our gospel, it happens. And so people are rejoicing in the works of Jesus. He is proclaiming the good news to the poor, and they are happy about this. Our church, too, should be known for joy, happiness, and hope. The Advent season, the Christmas season, all the more so. We should be reflecting on our joyfulness, our happiness, and improving in those efforts. Again, especially during the Advent and Christmas season, known for our joy and happiness. I would guess that if the average person was asked on an average day, what makes you happy, or what puts you in a good mood, and I'm sure we'd all have different answers to be given. Probably most of us wouldn't initially start making spiritual comments. It'd be nice if we did. But many people might say, well, their favorite football team won, and so now they're in a good mood. Or they may have just had a good meal, and so they're happy for the rest of the day. And again, all these different earthly pleasures, a new car or something new, some new relationship even maybe develops or happens. While those earthly joys, those earthly pleasures, most of those are probably fine, and yes, we should share in each other's joys, also sharing in each other's sorrows, but I think we're challenged, of course, in our faith life to be happy and joyful in the Lord, to be happy and joyful in what Jesus can do for us, what he has done for us, be joyful and hopeful in what the church has to offer to each of us. These eternal joys, joy and hope that can last forever, those are the things we need to be reflecting on and working on. Because as we know, those earthly pleasures, those earthly joys, they're passing away, they're fleeting, they won't last very long. And so we want to root our happiness and our joy in Jesus, something that, again, we know lasts forever. I think it's also true, perhaps again, sort of out on the sidewalks or out on the streets, when someone goes to a restaurant, if the staff is all happy and everybody in there is happy, or if you go into a store or to a shop and it looks like everyone working there is in a good mood and happy about what they're selling or what they're doing there, and all the other customers seem in a good mood, when we leave there, we're very likely to go tell our friends and our family, I want to go back to eat there, or I want to go back there and shop, and you should come with me. Everyone there is happy, and it's great. That's something people, when we leave this church, it should be a goal of ours that we go home to tell our family, our friends, our neighbors, say there's something about that church, St. Vincent de Paul, everybody seems happy there. Yes, that requires some work on all of our parts, but we should be growing and deepening in our happiness and our joy and our hopefulness when we come to church, and we should leave rejoicing. And yes, it does require, again, a little work sometimes to accomplish that, but that's what we should be known for. I suppose similarly, I think Pope Francis somewhere recently wrote or said that Jesus should be known as a guy who is smiling. Very often we think about him on the cross, and yes, he was suffering and dying for us on that cross, but we also should realize or think of Jesus in the bigger picture of who he was, that he was a happy person, that he was joyful, he was hopeful, and so we also need to reflect that. I suppose it's true some people very naturally or by their personality or however they're put together, some people go around smiling all the time. Even when they're mad, it seems like they've got a big smile on their face. There's other people, we might say unfortunately, it looks like they're always grumpy, and that's unfortunate. But we should again all be striving to be people who smile, people who are joyful. In our efforts of being happy and smiling, it should not just be surfacey stuff, because I think we all can read through that pretty quickly. People that run around being joyful, and we can say, well, are they really happy, or is that just a big show? We should be known for some meaningfulness, that our joy is rooted in something much deeper than just our little surfacey personalities, that we have hearts and souls that have lasting joy within them. And this season of Advent and Christmas brings that to us all the more. We also have a message of patience. In our second reading there from St. James, we are reminded to be patient people. In fact, joy and patience fits together because we can be floating around on little joyful things here on earth, but if we want real, lasting joy and happiness, we must be patient. Because the real joy, the real happiness is ultimately in heaven. And so we have to engage our virtue of patience if we want to be properly joyful. In our gospel there, we see John the Baptist thrown in jail, and he has to be patient to get out. As you know, he was eventually beheaded. That's how he got out of there and went to heaven for all eternity to be with the angels and saints. But again, that sense of patience, again, even John the Baptist, he wondered, was he doing the right thing? And he asked them, go find out if that's the real Jesus. And word got back to him, it is, because he's working miracles and people are happy about it. And that's how John the Baptist was reassured that he was doing the right thing and he was in jail, even for the right reasons. So John the Baptist is an example of hope, an example of patience for all of us. We also, in our time of Advent, in our effort to be hopeful and joyful, we turn to our Blessed Mother. She's the one that will bring us Jesus. She's the one that will give us Jesus on Christmas Day. And as Jesus brings hope and joy to us, our Blessed Mother is the one who brings that hope and joy to us. And so we draw close to our Blessed Mother. Of course, by praying the Rosary is one of the great ways to draw close to Mary. There's many Marian devotions, and even if it's just one Hail Mary a day, that Mary will make you a happier person. Mary will fill you with hope, because that's her message, and that's who she brings to us. Lastly, the sacrament of confession brings us joy, brings us happiness, brings us great hope. Because when we're willing to acknowledge our sins, when we're willing to open our hearts to God's mercy, we walk away happier people. Sin is sadness. Sin is depressing. Sin is dirty. And so we got to get that out of there so that we can be hopeful and joyful. It's also true in our own lives. It brings us joy and happiness, the sacrament of confession. But we also leave more willing and ready to forgive others. And as you know, that tends to go in a reciprocates. When we're forgiving, other people start being more forgiving. And yes, that is something joyful. That is something very happy. So God's mercy, God's forgiveness brings joy and hope into our lives, into each of us, into our church, and into our world.